welcome back to my channel. I'm basically welcoming myself back to this channel because it's been very long since I've been here. I think my last video I posted was back in 2022, November 21st. It's so fitting to even mention that because it relates to my topic today of perfectionism. I've been reflecting a lot over the past few years on perfectionism. But particularly in the past month or so, I've just been really like honing in on it and how much it has really held me back from living a life that I want to live. And today I really want to share with you how I've been seeing it hold me back over the years and what I plan to do about it. The one main pattern or way that it's affected me is essentially holding me back from taking action on most things. Like over the years, I've really come to kind of see myself as someone who has a lot of dreams and ideas and goals, but really struggles to follow through on them. And it's gotten to the point where I think it's really affected my relationship with myself, where I don't really like trust myself anymore. I'm like tired of making promises. I'm tired of dreaming, coming up with ideas because I'm tired of also not following through. It's just like, it's so discouraging to start seeing yourself as someone you can't even rely on. For me, perfectionism causes me to not take action because I have a lot of ideas and goals and visions in my head that are so perfect, like perfectly complicated and thorough and detailed. But the moment I even try to even think about executing them, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so overwhelming. Like I do not want to do that at all. Two areas of my life that I wanted to really focus on lately and also want to share with you is my relationship with my creative endeavors and my relationship with cooking. So with my creative endeavors, I started my YouTube journey back when the pandemic started, so around 2020. And I started this channel because I just really wanted to share openly about my life journey, my lessons I've learned. But somewhere along the way, I just lost sight of all of it because of my perfectionism. I think I started and stopped and started and stopped my content creation journey like 3 or 4 times because I just kept going through the same cycle of having such high expectations, creating such detailed and complicated outlines for my videos to the point where even the thought of executing the video was so tiring and dreadful that I didn't want to do it. It just became this thing where I'm like, wait a minute, do I even enjoy this anymore? If not, like, what am I doing this for? And so I just eventually stopped completely. My last video was back in 2022, November, and I haven't created a single video since. I just could never find a way to make content creation sustainable for me. And even though I knew that it would burn me out, I almost just like didn't care. Like it felt like I was powerless. Like I couldn't stand not doing it perfectly, even if it meant I would ultimately completely fizzle out. You could make a video better and better and better and better, and you could essentially like never finish a video because there's always something you could do. And for me, my goal right now is to simply identify when I need to stop, when it's worth it to address a detail, and when it's actually more worth it to be like, you know what, that detail is not necessary right here. Let me just prioritize like getting this done. So yeah, even as I'm, posting my first video in a really long time, I have a very specific plan to simplify things truly as much as I can. I want to cut out any unnecessary editing. I used to do a ton of transitions and captions and all of that. I want to stay away from really elaborate outlines and plans that are daunting to execute. I want to not compare myself to other creators that look like they're so much farther ahead and have such complicated and thorough and detailed videos because that's great for them, but like I'm not there, and I'd rather just have a simple video than not have any videos at all. I want to always check in with myself and really ask myself, okay, how did that feel? Like, did that feel effortless, or did that feel like so tiring that you don't want to do it ever again? Because I don't want that to be my content creation journey. That's just not the point. Okay, so the second area that I mentioned that perfectionism was really holding me back in was my relationship with cooking. So with cooking, I've I've always wanted to have a better relationship with cooking, but if I'm being really honest, I've kind of low-key always hated cooking. Similar to content creation, where like it can get so complicated in my head. And growing up, my grandma was such a good cook, and everything she cooked was always really, really bomb, and I just loved eating at home. And she always had like such a variety of dishes. Every day would be pretty much different. She would have like 3 different dishes every single day. And then it would be like weeks before I saw a repeated dish. And so I think subconsciously that has given me a lot of pressure to view cooking as that. Like there's no other way to cook. And that's just not true. Like her way of cooking really worked for her. But for me as a beginner, I really cannot do that. And I've tried it and I end up not cooking at all. So when I really paused and reflected on what it was about cooking that was so overwhelming for me, it was my perfectionistic approach. I would try all kinds of recipes that I thought were like really fancy or, you know, would be really impressive. And I didn't even really care to think about if those ingredients were kind of complicated to buy or if they were just like ingredients I would use for this one recipe and never use again. I would get so overwhelmed every time I had to go to the grocery store and have this long list of ingredients that I have to buy because it's a new recipe I've never worked with before, and now I have a bunch of ingredients I have to buy for the first time. The recipes I chose would often have so many different steps, so much multitasking, and I get overwhelmed by steps and multitasking really easily. And then just the overall chaos of me like looking back at the recipe, making sure I have the measurements right, all while like making sure I'm like not overcooking this one thing. It was so overwhelming all the time, and it just made me like hate cooking. So after reflecting on all those factors that really led to my overwhelm when it came to cooking, I've come up with a plan that I've actually been working through the past 2 weeks. And so the plan involves me, first of all, only learning recipes from 2 chefs, one Chinese chef and one Korean chef. I'm Chinese, my husband's Korean, so we both love Chinese food and Korean food. And so I just simplified. I'm like not Googling a bunch of other recipes, just sticking to these 2 chefs. And so what I found is that because I keep following the same chefs, I'm starting to really notice that these chefs tend to use similar ingredients for a lot of their different recipes. So it's actually made my grocery shopping experience so much easier because now I just have like all the different sauces I need for the Chinese chef and then all the different sauces I need for the Korean chef. And I pretty much don't really need to buy new sauces for a really long time because their recipes call for pretty much the same sauces, just like different combinations of them. And now when I'm looking at a new recipe, I try to take a moment to kind of pause and visualize what the cooking process would look like if I followed this recipe. And as I visualize the process, I'm like, okay, does this sound straightforward? Does it feel like I would be able to kind of move through the steps pretty easily without getting overwhelmed? And if the answer is yes, then I'm like, this is the recipe, I'm gonna try it out. And lastly, I'm giving myself permission to just build a repertoire of about 10 dishes right now. So like 5 Chinese dishes, 5 Korean dishes, and I'm just gonna keep rotating through them. I'm not gonna even worry about adding more variety right now. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the 2 areas of my life where I really feel like perfectionism has held me back. If you are also noticing areas in your life, I invite you to take some time to really kind of reflect deeply and maybe even journal. I have 2 questions that might be really useful for you. So the first question is, what is one area of my life where perfectionism is holding me back? Another way you could think about it is, what is one area of my life where I feel like I'm struggling to take action because the thought of taking action is too overwhelming? Once you've identified that area that you want to focus on, then you can move on to the second question, which is, what are some specific factors in my approach to this area that might be too complicated and need simplifying? Try to really get granular about all the little things, all the ways that you approach it that is just like not useful, not helpful right now, way too complicated. You just either get rid of them or simplify them. And then once you've, listed all those out, then all you need to do is kind of just create a plan, a simple plan of what you're gonna do. And then you can try out that plan, and then you can reflect and debrief and be like, okay, how did that go? Was that easier? Was that more fun? Was that more effortless? And does it make me want to do this action again tomorrow or the next week? I hope these reflection questions are helpful for you. I really believe that the more reflecting we do, the more aware we grow of ourselves, and the more capable we are of really making the changes that we need to make in order to overcome our challenges, including perfectionism, and really just become the people we want to become someone we can really be proud of, someone who keeps their promises, someone who has ideas and visions and actually follows through on them. I think we're going to become so much more confident in ourselves as we simplify things and see ourselves really following through and having these little wins over and over and over again. So yes, I hope this video was encouraging for you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, your week, and I'll see you in the next video.